Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful day here in America. Welcome back to the campaign trail. My name is Jared, and today we'll take a look at the lineups for the second Democratic primary debate. As we saw with the first debate lineups, who ends up on what night can drastically affect who can do well. For example, we saw that by having Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the same night, it set up Harris to attack Joe Biden on race issues, which allowed her to gain support. Meanwhile, Cory Booker, who was looking to attack Biden on the same issues, was handicapped by being placed on the first night, thus unable to directly attack Biden without getting the perception that he was attacking someone who was not there to defend himself. In this video, I'm going to describe what the lineups are, how the lineups were decided, and then I'm going to give you 5 things that you can take away from the lineups. With that being said, let's go ahead and tell you guys who is debating what night. Just like last time, there are 10 candidates debating each night. The first night's lineup includes Steve Bullock, governor of Montana and the only candidate on stage who did not appear in a previous debate, Pete Buttigieg, mayor of South Bend, Indiana, John Delaney, former representative from Maryland, John Hickenlooper, former governor of Colorado, Amy Klobuchar, senator from Minnesota, Beto O'Rourke, former representative from Texas, Tim Ryan, representative from Ohio, Bernie Sanders, senator from Vermont, Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts, and finally, Marianne Williamson, author from California. On the second night, we have Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, Joe Biden, former vice president, Cory Booker, senator from New Jersey, Julian Castro, former secretary of Housing and Urban Development and mayor of San Antonio, Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York, Tulsi Gabbard, representative from Hawaii, Kirsten Gillibrand, senator from New York, Kamala Harris, senator from California, Jay Inslee, governor of Washington, and finally, tech executive from New York, Andrew Yang. So now that you know who is debating what night, let's find out how the lineup was decided. Instead of the Democratic National Committee deciding who was on what night, it was the host of the debates, CNN, who determined the lineups. They conducted the drawing during a live broadcast on July 18th, stressing transparency throughout the process. For the actual drawing, CNN broke the qualifying candidates into 3 groups, based off their polling average since the last debate. Remember, they are only using polls since June 29th and beyond. The first group was made up of candidates whose averages were above 10%. This included Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Kamala Harris. The next group was those who were polling between 1 and 10%. This included Pete Buttigieg, Cory Booker, Andrew Yang, Julian Castro, Beto O'Rourke, and Amy Klobuchar. The last group was made up of everybody else whose polling average was below 1%. CNN then drew from each of these groups, placing half of each group into one of the 2 debates. The goal of this setup was not to overload one of the debates with a bunch of high-profile candidates. Which brings me to my first takeaway of the lineups, and that is this time we have a much more balanced lineup between the 2 nights. Last month, if you remember, 4 out of the top 5 people who were polling best at the time were placed on the second night. This gave off the impression that the first night's debate was a sort of undercard debate, while the main event was on the second night. Not this time around. The way CNN did the drawing guaranteed that they would be. According to 538, the average polling of the candidates on the second night is only 0.5% higher than those on the first night. The balance of the 2 debates will make it better not only for the candidates, but for the viewers who want both debates to be worth watching. Now there are some things that the viewers will be looking forward to more than others, and chief among them is my second takeaway, the rematch between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Last time these 2 clashed on stage, it became the most viral moment of the first round of debates, and gave Harris the boost her campaign needed to become one of the top-tier candidates. Harris caught Biden off guard last time around with her attacks on Biden's relationship with segregationist senators and his stance on forced racial integration by busing. Biden, once again caught off guard, wasn't able to respond with the same intensity that Harris had, making him look weak. This time, Biden knows that Harris will be coming for him again, as he still has a solid chunk of the Black Democratic vote. Biden will want to respond to Harris's comments at the last debate, especially since Harris admitted since the last debate that she holds the same position on busing that Biden does, which makes one wonder why she attacked him on the issue in the first place. Add in the fact that Cory Booker, who initiated the debate on this issue, will be joining them that night, and you can see an explosive next chapter in this rivalry. No matter what happens, unless something happens between now and then, this matchup will be the biggest story heading into the second night. However, that is not the only massive matchup in the debates. The battle for the progressive lane of the primary is set to happen on the first night of the debate between Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. Up until this point, these two have been extremely kind to one another, not really attacking each other. However, Warren has been siphoning votes from Sanders since the primary began. They know that they are both occupying the same lane in the primary, and they know that this fight had to be waged at one point during the primary. Now, they may be forced to face one another earlier than either one may have wanted. Sanders would need to focus on him being the original supporter for many of the progressive programs Warren now supports, while Warren would need to focus on her specifics on how these policies can be enacted. It is possible that they do avoid each other, instead opting to focus on the other fight that happens on the first night. This brings me to my next takeaway. Not only will Warren and Sanders be facing off against each other, but the night they occupy is filled with the more moderate members of the primary. Amy Klobuchar, John Delaney, John Hickenlooper, Tim Ryan, and Steve Bullock all identify as moderates. All of them are also struggling in the polls. If Warren and Sanders don't think that these moderates aren't going to attack them, trying to differentiate themselves from the more radical policies of the progressive wing of the party, Warren and Sanders are in for a long night. To me, this will probably be the biggest story of night one of this round of debate. My last takeaway is one that applies broadly to the field. There is a clear top tier of candidates: Biden, Warren, Sanders, and Harris. But the second tier is wide open. Pete Buttigieg is the only clear person in this tier, although an argument could be made for Cory Booker. But that's it. Only 6 candidates have qualified for the September debate, leaving many more spots for people to take should they meet the qualifications, which are much more strenuous this time around. For anyone who's been struggling to gain attention, it's put up or shut up now. These lineups are set up to allow people in those lower tiers to move up a level. As I just explained, the struggling moderates in the first debate have the chance to distinguish themselves by being the one to successfully attack the 2 biggest progressive names in the primary. In the second night, there's room for candidates not named Joe Biden or Kamala Harris to make a splash. The last debate showed that by being aggressive during the debates, you can make a name for yourself. I think it'll be especially interesting to watch to see if anybody is brave enough to take on Kamala Harris. Harris got a boost during the last debate for attacking a frontrunner. Will someone now do the same by attacking her? In short, you should absolutely expect this next debate to be more aggressive, as lower tier candidates make a last-ditch effort to keep themselves in the race, lest they not qualify for the next debate and all but eliminate themselves from contention for the nomination. So there you have it. Those are my takeaways from the second Democratic primary debate lineups. I'm definitely more excited about the possibilities that these lineups bring than the last ones. Like I said, I expect a more aggressive debate that really highlights the differences between a lot of the candidates, not just in policy, but in attitudes towards the election in general. Lastly, I do want to thank CNN for doing their live drawing of the lineups. This is the kind of transparency that people want when it comes to these debates. They could not have done it better. So with that being said, what do you guys think of the new lineups? Which candidates are you excited to see face off? Which night is more compelling to you? Let me know down in the comments. Coming soon, I'll have my pre-analysis of the second debate, and I'll also be beginning my series that goes in depth about each candidate, who they are, and what they stand for. Don't forget, if you like what you see in here, hit that like button and make sure you subscribe for more content on the 2020 election. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Jared, and I'll see you guys next time on the Campaign Trail.